Hey, hello everyone. So this is Prof Prince here from LionTech Academy, Canada, and thank you so much for watching this video. Many of you have reached out to us on our various social media platforms and also on WhatsApp asking us, hey, I don't have any experience in tech. I really want to study cybersecurity. I want to study, the software development life cycle, in other words, DevOps. And I'm really interested in cloud computing and artificial intelligence, but I don't know where to start. What can I do to start learning? How do I get ready? Yeah, so I'm telling you this. This is one of the things that I wish I have known before getting into tech, and that's why I am going to guide you in this. So let's talk about command line skills. Okay, so this is the very first skill that you need. So this is the place to start. If you are asking yourself, where do you start? And in my previous tutorial, I had already walked you on installing some command line tools. So now this video is going to walk you on why we install those command line tools like WSL and Git Bash and its criticality, why it is so important that you understand these tools. So there are two ways in which we interact with systems. Systems could be your phone, right? Your computer. Most of us have laptops, but we only know how to use the mouse on our laptop. So we go to what we call the graphical user interface and, we create a file or whatever thing that we're doing, right? We're doing with the mouse. There is another approach, another method of interacting with your operating system, and that is through the command line interface, also called a CLI. It's a black screen. So I'm going to show you what a CLI looks like, and then I'm going to explain to you why it is so important for you to build, this experience. Okay. So this is crucial because everything we study in DevOps, cybersecurity, cloud computing, ethical hackers from command line interfaces, right? Um, I'm a SOC analyst, they work with the command line interface, cloud professionals work in command line interface, DevOps engineers, command line interface, cybersecurity, you are day to day, as in where you are interacting, right? Maybe, deploying patches on systems, securing systems, everything is on command line interface. Computing. Now, we won't say command line interface with cloud computing. They refer to it as programmatic access. Again, it's our new skills you're going to learn. But again, it's all about the command line interface. So this is a skill that you need to master it and master it very, very well. So let's look at an introduction to the command line, because even when we start studying Linux, because that's going to be our very first topic, right? Everything about Linux is on the command line interface. Linux doesn't have, um, so this is okay, by the way, right? So this is called the graphical user interface. You see, like, we have desktop, these are all folders. On the command line interface, right? I'm going to show you how you can also interact with this same. You see, like here, you can double click here on documents, right? We can create a document. These are all what the graphical user interface approach. This is how, we had been doing it. Okay, we are used to this way. And this is why you now want to learn tech, right? Can you create a folder without going through this approach? Yes, that is going to be through the command line interface. And that's what we are going to be covering in this video. I hope you are excited. But yes, this is a wonderful place to start. And you will not break your system by using the command line interface. So you're going to make mistakes, but believe me, as you continue to, you continue to practice, you're going to become so used to it. So the command line interface is the foundation of DevOps cloud, okay, and cybersecurity cloud. As a matter of fact, if you're ever going to work in tech, right? One of the first skills that you need to acquire and have excellent mastery on it is the command line interface. The SCADA is what is used on servers, okay, cloud, and automation. So many of you want to study cloud computing, right? AWS, GCP, and Azure. They all have their CLI. So you hear about the AWS CLI, Azure CLI, and G Cloud, right? Those are what? CLIs for the various cloud computing platforms. That's to say that you are going to be interacting with these platforms, okay, programmatically, okay. So they're all CLIs. So if we cover these CLIs very well and you understand it and you become very good on the CLIs, this is your breakthrough to take. Why? Because it takes away the fear of that black screen. It's just a screen, right? Okay. So what is command line interface? Of course, what is a text-based interface to communicate with the OS, with the operating system. You type commands instead of clicking. You give it gives what it gives direct control, okay, to systems. So command line interface gives you direct control of systems. So let's say, okay, let's talk about commands. See, create is a command, right? Create is a command. Stand is a command. When you say stand, you want someone to stand, right? So if I say stand and you stand, it's supposed to come in to lift you up to stand. Which of them is faster? Which one is more efficient, right? It's the command. I say hey, stop, you stop. Come, you come. Go, you go. Commands, right? So we give commands to systems, and this is why. So commands are just instructions that we give to the operating system to perform tasks. Right. See, for example, here, right? Look at something here, okay? So this is my graphical user interface on my Windows computer, right? Now, I want to create a folder. I go to new folder. I give what? I give a name of the folder. Let's call it what? My demo folder, 2026 folder. See that? That's my folder. It's created. Now, do you know that I could also create the exact same folder from the command line interface? So let's say, on Windows, we have the what? Okay, 1 second. Yeah. Let me use the one that I'm sharing. Okay, sorry. Okay, but we have, okay, let's open Git batch, not Git batch because that's what we installed. At least all systems comes with what? Comes with the Windows PowerShell. So let's open Windows PowerShell. See that? So this is my PowerShell, right? So this is what we refer to as the command line interface. Okay? And so you are right there. There's nothing to click. Okay? There's nothing to click. So this is where you got to understand processes. So it's like, you have directions to achieve certain things, right? If you work in the military or you work, you have commands, you have instructions. If you're going to achieve this is the processes, this is how it works. In fact, everything about life, right? It's all about processes. Life is built around processes. Things failed, people go to court. Okay, when what? When processes are not obeyed. So this is Windows PowerShell and it comes on all Windows operating system. Okay, now look at something. So you are going to learn about commands. Okay, so let me introduce one of the most simplest commands, right? It's called list. See this here? List. So now, don't worry, we'll talk about where we are, but let me show you where this is, right? So how do you interpret this? Now what? You are in the C drive on your computer. I'm going to go show you. Now what? In the C drive, we have users, okay, user accounts. And then in user, we have a user they call immigration. So technically, we are in the home directory of the user immigration. How can I prove that? So let's say we go back here. So this is my C. Okay, so this C, this is what you see there because it's very good that you know how to interpret this. Very, very important. PS stands for PowerShell. Great. Okay, so now if we understand this, it's easy. So how do you interpret this? In the C drive, in the folder called users, and in the users folder, we have a user that called immigration. So I want to prove that so that we can get away fear. So you see, that's my C drive, right? See that? This is users here, isn't it? And then you see, these are all the users that I have on my system. In fact, these are accounts on this computer. So at the moment, I am logged in as the user immigration. So if I want to see, everything that is in this particular home directory, these are all the files and folders that are in this particular user directory. Very, very important for you to understand users management, even on your Windows operating system. Now, I would say it's getting a little bit techy. Let me calm down, Elvis, calm down, Prof. But it is, so you see, right? This is what C, users immigration, the same thing on my command line, because if you don't understand what this is, now you're going to get confused. So now if I run list, so this is a command, okay? It's also called list, okay? Like this. So now list is the command, list is the action. See that? But that's not the command itself. The command is ls. Ls is the short form for list. See that? So therefore what? You know the command. So if I want to list everything in this directory, see that? It gives me everything here. Okay, it lists. So you are going to come to understand that when you see anything that's with a dot, it means it's hidden. So you won't see it. But see, I have what? Desktop, documents, downloads, right? These are all my folders. Okay, and let me talk about something very, very important. So you see that on our system, on the command line, right? Folders are known as what? As directories. Okay, great. Because we are the next section, the next tutorial is going to be talking about, managing files and folders. And so these are new terminologies that you're going to learn. So whenever I start with the mode in this particular case, right? These are what? These are directories. Directories simply means folders. So let's say we come back here. See that? These are what? This is everything that we are seeing on our command line. .aws, .azure, .right, Chocolatey, and you see that? These are what? These are all the contents of this user. So it's like the contents of my room. So think about your operating system like, you know, a building with 1,000 rooms, right? And each room belongs to an individual, right? And so what? Those rooms would be qualified as accounts because what? Because the contents of room one will be different from the content of room two, but they're all in the same building. Make sense? Yeah, right. So now, once you have that kind of a picture in your mind, you're now going to understand what we mean by users administration on the system. Because your Windows computer can what? It can accommodate unlimited number of users. Many of you don't know. Talk about that. That's one thing you're going to learn. Right. So we see all of so that's the man, right? I ask it to list. Please display for me all the content of my user account immigration and what it lists everything. So this is called a command line. The very first type of command line you're learning is what? Is PowerShell. See that? PowerShell. Now, let's say I want to create. So our first command, the first command you've learned is what? Is the list command. This video is focused on command line interface, not commands in itself. We'll talk about commands in the next video, probably this week. But let's focus on command lines. So this is your command line. You see, like on the command line, you cannot use your mouse here. The mouse won't help you because it is not a graphical user interface. It's a CLI. So we are going to use the arrow keys here. See that? Arrow keys. The up arrow keyword simply recalls what you had run before. See that? It takes me back. See that? Powerful, isn't it? And if I want to type something, use my arrow keys, we'll talk about using the arrow keys on the command line interface. But let's just see what PowerPoint says. Yeah, I'm not really talking a lot. I like to demonstrate. Okay, so what? We give instructions, gives for direct control of systems via the command line, okay? Why command line matters? Servers runs without screens. So when you talk about operating systems like Linux, for example, right, they don't have screens, okay? Most of the servers we're going to run, Kubernetes, Docker, they all have CLIs. AWS all have CLIs. Cloud platforms, they all have CLIs. So how do you then, interact with these CLIs? Is what is through command lines. Automation depends on CLIs. That's a fact. Cloud and DevOps rely on it. Okay. So you see that the foundation of your career in cybersecurity, DevOps, artificial intelligence, in fact, tech as a whole, if you're thinking about, I know you're thinking about a career, tech, right? The foundation is your mastery and your confidence. Take away the fear of the command line interface. This is so important. This is where you should be starting. Okay. And this is why we are introducing this. So servers run without screens, which means that there is no graphical user interface. So there are two types of UIs, right? We have the graphical user interface and we have the command line interface. The command line interface is that this black screen that I was talking about. I won't talk about commands for now, right? So that's the first one. So the second one is the one that we had installed, Git Bash. I think I'm going to run another, tutorial just on Git Bash and the one that we install. Let's look at the one that comes with our system first. Again, what we have the command line interface. So we have command prompt. See this another, CLI, Azure Cloud Shell. Okay, if you want to interact with Azure, but don't worry about that for now. I won't talk about it. So we have what? We have the command prompt, right? So command prompt also have its own commands. So let's see pwd here. See that is not a recognized command, but let's see. See that is also when it comes to command prompt, there are some commands that will work on PowerShell that will not work on command prompt because command prompt has its own command. That's why we are going to learn these commands. Okay, that's it. And then we have some other CLIs like Kali Linux and all of that. So let's say we come here and let's say, well, okay, how about I want to access pictures. I can do what? CD is a command, it stands for change directory. And then let's say you want to access pictures. See that? LS here, and you can see all the content in my pictures folder, in my pictures directory. So now let's what? Let's create. Say we create what directory called make what? Make directory demo January what? 12. See that? Perfect. So you can see when they see that it tells me when this. So this is so important and so cool. This is where you should be starting your journey, right? Your confidence on the command line. So this is us introducing the command line interface because throughout this program, that is going to be your friend. So it's important that you build the correct confidence with it because it's like you cannot be a citizen in a country without an ID card, right? The ID card is what identifies you as a citizen. So the CLI is a crucial element. It's a crucial skill. Mastery of the CLI is a crucial skill in not just you securing a high-paid, DevOps or DevOps job or cybersecurity job or tech job, but sustaining the job because this is where you work. This is where you live. This is your the 9 to 5 you're on the command line. It's guaranteed. Okay. Okay. So you can see now what. So let's confirm in the pictures folder. Okay. Let's go to pictures folder. See that? Now let's see. Okay, of course, what. So see, this is what this is pictures here. See that? We have what? This is here. Demo what? Demo January 12th. Now I could also what? I could also create from here. So I gave the system a command and it acted. Now let me ask you a question. Create this folder like this, and I call it what? January 13 demo. Now, please leave it in the comment section. The graphical user interface approach and the seller approach, which one do you think is most efficient? Okay, I won't tell you, but I want to answer the question. So this is so important for you to understand CLIs. Okay, and CLIs also is also one of the means through which we are going to connect with our cloud resources. So let's say you create a server in the cloud. How do you connect to it? It's via CLIs, right? Command line interface. How do you work on those servers? How do you collaborate on those servers? It's all through the command line interface. Okay. So there are different types of command lines for Windows operating system. So we have command prompt, PowerShell, Git bash is installed, WSL is installed, Linux terminal is installed. So if we go to Microsoft Store, again, this is strictly for Windows users. So if you go to Microsoft Store and we just type Windows terminal, you're going to see. So what you see me opening here is called what? So this is called a Windows terminal. The platform itself is called Windows terminal, but then what? It allows me to open different CLIs. Okay, we'll talk about all of that. So you can see this is my WSL. With WSL, I'm able to install Ubuntu. Okay, and most of us, this is where we're going to start. Okay, we're going to start from here. So we have that. Okay, but then we also have terminal, Windows what? Windows terminal. Okay, that's Windows terminal. And of course, we can also what? You can also open PowerShell directly from here as an app. See that is your PowerShell. And so this looks like a new technology. Let's see this. Wow, great. So if you go to Windows terminal, it says what? PowerShell is what? It's a task-based command line shell and scripting language built on .NET. Okay. .NET is a programming language for Windows applications. We're going too deep. That's not the purpose of this video. But let's take it one at a time. So we have these are the common terminals that we are going to be using in the course of our program. Okay, we have PowerShell, Git bash, WSL, Linux on Windows, and we have Linux terminal. But we're going to work mostly with Git bash and WSL. There are a lot of other terminals we're going to use, right? Basic commands, okay, you have like ls, change directory, make directory, remove files. Don't worry about this. We'll talk about that in the next video. Command line in DevOps, runs pipelines, deploy containers, automate builds, and manage servers. So this is so important, right? Because this is how you are going to interact with command line. These are just some of the very few, examples. So we run pipelines using Jenkins, for example, in Docker. DevOps, we run pipelines, we deploy containers with Docker, we automate builds, and we manage servers. All of this runs on the command line interface. Command line in cloud and security, of course. How do we provision resources? In today's time, you cannot say that you create your resources by logging into the console and then you do click, 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 click. You create everything has to be automated through the command line interface. If you want to unlock, CLI offers us an easier and efficient method of achieving that. On security tools, everything is done via the command line. So you control your system via the CLI. This is what you most want. Start playing alongside with your CLI. The next video is going to focus on, introducing CLI from the perspective of file management. So I don't want to confuse that with this one. Errors becomes what? Understandable, because if you make a mistake in an operation, let's say you were trying to verify and you make a mistake with the file name, with the file permissions and all of that, you can easily understand those mistakes. But if that was just on the graphical user interface with the click, 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 click approach, right, you may not see that. You work like real engineers. That's what real engineers do. They work on the command line. Command line is what? It's a career accelerator, right? Higher paying roles, remote opportunities, and global tech careers. You cannot say, hey, I'm a tech engineer without, a solid, profound, and confident knowledge in the command line interface. So this is so important. I hope that this video helps you. So what's next? Of course, what we're going to look at some hands-on experience, command lines, command like Linux commands, okay, or commands, not just Linux, but this is so important that you understand. Okay. So this is what we're going to do next. Okay, we're going to introduce Linux commands so that you can start building confidence. But yes, command line interfaces are so important. So let's talk about Git Bash. Is also what now. If you look at Git Bash, for example, right? So this is your Git Bash. Let's look at Git Bash, for example. So we had installed Git Bash in the previous video. Please, if you have not, just look at search my videos on YouTube on this particular channel. You're going to see the videos, okay? We talked about installing Git Bash. Wait for it to load. And you see, it loads again. Now, let's introduce one more command. PWD command here. See that? It tells me, so PWD just stands for print working directory. Now let me explain this in a way that you can understand. So that is a command, right? That's a command. And you notice that it's going to change as you navigate the system. So wherever you are in the system, you can tell somebody where you are exactly. So let's say, for example, you are at home, but though you are at home, you are in the kitchen. So what is your PWD? You can say, yep, I'm at home and I'm in the kitchen. Good. Yeah, someone could be at home, but he is in his room, bedroom. So what is his PWD? He's at home, but he is where? In his bedroom. Makes sense? So we are going to see the navigations. How can we move from, the kitchen to the bedroom? Like these are different folders, because those rooms are what we refer to as folders, okay? Folders, folders, folders. So we navigate all of these on the command line using commands. So PWD tells you exactly where you are. And again, what? We can again run the ls command. See this here? Ls command like that. And of course, what? It lists everything that we have on this system. Okay? See that? It lists everything. So now let's say what? Let's use the cd command, change directory. Okay, by the way, there's something you should understand here. CD must go with the space. So if you say CD and you give no space, right, this is not going to work. Let's say what? CD music. See that? You want to go to the music folder. It's not going to work. So this leads me to one of your very basic understanding of command line interface is that command line interfaces are both case sensitive and space sensitive. So when you see a command not found, it tells you one thing, right? Either what that you're making a mistake with the command itself. Let's say maybe the command you're using maybe an uppercase, right? The command will be found because the system has a specific recognition of command. So the command is not recognized, and this is why I say it's not found. But the area is what is space, because Linux command lines are space sensitive. So if I do what cd into music here, for example, that now it went through. So now if I do PWD here, what do I see? See that? Now where am I now? So yes, I am at home. I am immigration. But now what? I am in the music folder. See that? That's the meaning of PWD. It tells you where you are. So the full meaning of PWD stands for what? Print working directory. So it's like where are you working at the moment? So imagine that you are a shanty manager and you have 100 workers working on a, let's say, on a 100, not 100 floors of the building, but it's like working on the building project. So now you can what? If you guys are using radio, and if you have worked in security, right, there is a code they use to ask, hey, Officer Chike, where is your what is your PWD, right? Sorry, what's the 10 for? 10 for is a code. It's just asking for location. It's like, where are you? So that's the security connotation. But in tech, okay, we refer to that as PWD. So it's very important that you understand that. So now I am in music. How do I go back? So it's like leaving your room to the kitchen or back to the sitting room. So do what? Sitting room. Dot dot. You see, I'm going to move back. So now, see that? So do you notice that something has changed here? So first what? I was in my account, in my room, and I was what? Specifically in the music folder in this particular account. But now I am what? I have left that folder with what? Cd what? Space dot dot. It just takes me back. We'll talk about this fully in a different video. But what? This is us introducing command line interface. Okay. And this is how what, we work on the command line interface using commands. So you must know the commands. So let's say you want to check a particular file. You want to create a file. You want to remove a file. You want to delete a file. You want to secure a file. You want to share a file with what? With another user on that system. All of that is done with the command line interface. So hope you enjoyed this video. This is meant to build your confidence and not to scare you. But of course, there is no way you can avoid your interaction with the command line interface if you're thinking about a career in tech. And let's end here. So this is basically it. I hope that you enjoyed the video. And yep, command line interface is where you should start and build your confidence. And I'll see you in class February 7th. Yep. So thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope that you really enjoyed it. Please leave your comments, share the video, talk to your friends about it. My name is Prof. Rings at LionTech Academy, Canada, and God bless.